Oh, he is there. Perfect.
Computer audio. Okay.
Pauletta, you are back.
Okay, it says I've joined with computer audio.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Larry?
Okay. All right, so greetings, everybody. And again, I apologize that I've got these technical difficulties, but that's not going to stop me from telling you about my journey to Iraq, and I will share with you a good one. So let's start with this. Let's start with a couple of seconds of meditation for all of the people that died on this day and the challenges our country have been through. It's never been the same. So I, for one, I'm going to take a few seconds and just kind of meditate, send out love, good energies to all those who lost somebody and their loved ones, and all of those who have been lost. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Yes, I am seeing some yellow screens going on, but I'm just going to tell you. So let's start with April 2010. And I know there are many questions, so I'm going to hope that somebody's close by and they're going to come and visit me and they're going to come and help me. Come and help me. That's what I say. Come and help me. And I'm going to tell you a story about April 2001. So April 2001, I get a call from a Dr. Shali, who's a neurologist from Baghdad, Iraq. And Dr. Shali says, I'd like to meet with you to discuss the possibilities of you coming to Iraq to hypnotize a businessman who's been in an accident and he needs to have some hypnosis to help him. That's all I know. But I spent about 2 hours with Dr. Shali, and we had some great experiences together. And one second here, I can't do this. Everybody's bugging me right now, and I can't do this right now. Sorry, Sally. Sorry. So Dr. Shali, I'm turning off my phone. Dr. Shali spends about 2 hours with me, and all he tells me is that there's a businessman in Iraq that would like to meet with me to discuss the possibilities of helping him with hypnosis. Well, that sounds like an interesting experience. I remember calling up my friend Barb Duranda. She at that time she was doing bookings for airlines, and I said, I'd like to find out about going to Iraq. Where would I stay if I was in Baghdad? She said, you can't go to Baghdad. It's illegal to go there. Oh, I didn't know that. I started doing some research. I'm pretty naive with the news. I seldom watch the news. I read about it online sometime. When it's a little uncomfortable, I move on to another spot and they say, yeah, don't want to do that. So what I've learned is I've learned to not allow negative energies to get inside of me. So of course you'd say, well, why would you go to Iraq? Well, I went to Iraq because I was invited. If you're invited somewhere, you go. Of course, if you knew about Iraq at the time, you may have not gone, but I didn't know. I didn't even know who Uday Hussein was. I mean, I had heard of it, but didn't know what that was. So when I got to Iraq, actually on my way to Iraq, I find out who I'm going to visit with, and it's the eldest son of Saddam Hussein, Uday Hussein. Uday Hussein is about 38 years old. He's hated by everybody in the world. He's a murderer, rapist, terrorist, killed people. And he's invited me to come and speak to him and spend some time with him. Well, that was an interesting experience. I don't have many fears. Most of my consciousness is of being safe, being positive. I've sort of removed myself from anxiety over the years. I used to have a lot of anxiety when I was in my 20s. And little by little, getting involved in hypnosis, I started removing anxiety. So I wasn't scared to go to Iraq. Some people say, weren't you scared? No, I wasn't scared. And I know that some of you might have some questions. And as I say, occasionally I'll glance at the screen and yes, I can't hear you, Deborah. Nope, I can't hear anybody. Please, everybody mute, please, everyone mute yourself. I don't know what that means, but you could try it. Everybody's muted, Robert. And so I go to Iraq on April 2001. I meet with Uday Hussein. That was an interesting experience too. I will show you slides in a little while if I get that one working as well with some nice photos of that experience. Meeting with Uday Hussein was an interesting experience because I always like to meet unique people. Boy, he was a unique person. He was a nice looking man, nice posture. However, he couldn't walk well because his left leg would shake as he attempted to touch the ground. So as his left leg would shake as he touched the ground, he needed to be hypnotized to stop the shaking because they determined the shaking was more psychological than it was physical. That seems to mean in some way that what happened there is psychologically, he had created some kind of resistance to putting pressure on his left leg. I'll tell you about that as we go on. When I first got to Iraq, I was sort of frowned upon. Who's this guy coming from the United States to tell us what to do with our leader? And I wasn't so well welcomed at first. But then after they got to know me, you know, how could you not welcome Larry? Because he's not gonna create any kind of negative energy. He's gonna be okay and everything's gonna be fine. And so as I connected with some of the people, they began to give me instructions of what I was going to do. And that's when I really found out who I was going to see because they gave me some medical records. Well, I don't know how to read medical records. However, the medical records that they gave me were all this information. And of course, they always called, like Uday always called him the patient. So the patient's name was on the medical records. And all of a sudden I found out that I'm going to hypnotize Uday Hussein. There was an excitement there, as I said earlier. Let me see if I could go through some details. I think the details would be exciting for you. By the way, they're making a movie of this. We have somebody right now, she might be viewing with us, Mubina. Mubina is a producer, and we've already set this up way before COVID. Unfortunately, COVID stopped everything. It couldn't very well have a movie with people in Iraq running around with masks on in 2001 because they didn't have masks. And I'm tempting to see if I could hear any of you. And so this movie is going to be a wonderful movie. I think it'll be a great portrayal of what went on, but let me give you some details. I like to speak in details. I feel kind of strange that I'm not hearing anybody. I have notes here. If some notes come by and I have a question, I'll attempt to answer it. So I get to Baghdad from Jordan. I fly to Jordan. Everything was screwed up. You know, if Mercury's retrograding, which it must be today, Mercury was retrograding that day. I flew to France with a transfer to Jordan. I missed my plane by about 20 minutes because there was a delay at O'Hare. So I had to wait till the next day to get another plane to go to Jordan. So meantime, you know, I spent some nice time in Paris alone. You ever go to Paris alone? Not a good city to go alone, but I'm in Paris alone. And as I'm scouting around the city, I've got a whole day to spend. I meet this great guy for breakfast the next morning while I'm waiting for my plane. His name was Tony. Tony was a man from Italy, and he was a person who worked with rural areas, undeveloped areas, making roadways. And he told me some great stories, and he's told me how he would go through some of these places where there were no roads, no transportation, and he was one of the leaders to make these roads. He says, we never knew if we were going to have a log in front of us and all of a sudden they were going to jump out and rob us or kill us or whatever. Sounded like a dangerous job. He says, where are you heading? I said, I'm heading to Baghdad. Baghdad? That sounds more dangerous than what I go through. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit of this challenge and this stress. But at the same time, I'm going to stay positive as much as I can. And I'm going to say, Baghdad's going to be okay. I'm going to do okay there somehow. So I do catch my plane. But in the meantime, I'm meeting some people in Amman, Jordan. I'm meeting a Jordanian driver. I'm meeting a Frenchman who is involved in oil production. And I'm meeting an Iraqi. All of those people are going to be in Jordan waiting for me. So we get to Amman, Jordan. and I meet them at the hotel. And at that time, if you might recall history, in 2001, there was a no-fly zone. The no-fly zone is just that. That means you don't fly. If you fly, the Americans might shoot you down, because at that time, the no-fly zone was all over Iraq. So we had to drive from Amman, Jordan to Baghdad, which is about 500 miles, almost 500 miles, at night in an SUV with unknowns. I'll show you some maps later as well and show you a little bit of route we took. But we went from Amman, Jordan to Baghdad. If you look on a map of Amman, Jordan to Baghdad, you'll see there's not much going on. About 1 o'clock in the morning, excuse me, we stopped for lunch at 1 o'clock in the morning, some little passageway. It's about a block long, a town about a block long in the middle of the desert. The reason we drive at night is because during the day, temperatures are about 125 degrees in Baghdad or in the Iraq area through the desert. So at night, your car is going to be more liable to make it that 500-mile trip with that kind of heat. So we stopped and we had breakfast. I didn't have photos of where we had or brunch, lunch, or breakfast, or whatever you call it, 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. But it was quite an interesting experience because it was all truckers. And on the highways of Baghdad, of Iraq at that time, we're leaving Jordan pretty soon, but on the highways, trucks would drive with no lights at night. Now that might sound strange, but no lights because they didn't want to be noticed because they were carrying illegal oil from Iraq into Jordan. And so imagine what it's like to see trucks at night with no lights on. How interesting. You wonder how many people make it. All these truckers are sitting there, but they didn't look like truck drivers, like we'd know truck drivers. They all had these white gowns on and that was their style of dress. We had our lunch, our breakfast, and whatever we had. And it's interesting, the Frenchman brought sandwiches because he said it would be better for us to eat some of those sandwiches that he brought from Amman rather than eat what we had there at this restaurant. So we're back on our road again, and we're driving through the desert. Nothing to see but great conversations with a Frenchman, an Iraqi, and a Jordanian. We get to what's called no man's land. That's, if I can recall correctly, it's 60 meters long, and it's the distance between Jordan and Iraq. And then you go through the guard post at Iraq. The guard post at Iraq, yeah, if you could talk to me, I'd love to hear you. The guard post at Iraq is interesting. It reminds me of a James Bond movie. Now remember, this is nighttime. This is about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we get to the guard post, and of course they come up, and there's a lot of intimidation that goes on there. And the intimidation is, 1 second here. The intimidation is about, it's about treating you like you're different, treating you like you're in trouble. And so as you're treated like you're in trouble, you do feel this little fear, and they started searching the car. And I'm sitting in this waiting room wondering what's going on here, almost feeling a little nervous about this. And I'm told by the Frenchman that what happens is they change the guards every night at this guard post so that the guards don't become familiar with people and have some kind of gratuity that's going to let them through. It's real strict to get into Iraq at this time. 1 second, please. Okay, so it's real difficult to get into Iraq. So we're waiting because we are a day late. And a day late means we have new guards. The guards don't know anything about us, but I've got this letter of introduction. And this letter of introduction says that I'm going to Iraq for humanitarian reasons. So if you wonder how did I get a visa, through humanitarian reasons. And I guess that's right. I think a hypnotist could go and do something humanitarian. Why not? I think that would be okay. And so I get into Iraq with them, and we get into this section now that leaves the guard post. Remember, his guard post is nothing but a tin shed in the middle of nowhere, middle of desert. Look on a map, middle of the desert. And so now we're going to travel. Now, and like I said, maybe Mercury was retrograding because now we get to Baghdad and it's daylight. It's about 5, 6 in the morning. It's daylight. I have some slides later. I'll share with you some of the vehicles we rode in. And when we get to the hotel, this is interesting, the Al-Rashid Hotel, one of the most famous hotels in Iraq. That's where I stayed. By the way, at that time, there were about 100 guests in a 15-story hotel. So you can imagine the isolation that Iraq was suffering at that time. I have many stories, many political stories as well, but I don't have notes, by the way, as you can tell, so I'm just going to wing it. And again, I'm just going to watch for chats. I see one chat coming up. Please make sure you're muted. Okay. Me? No, not me. Everybody. I guess everybody else is hearing everybody else. I'm just not hearing everybody else. So we get to the hotel and there's a guard post at the hotel. And they're not going to let anybody in. They have gates there and there's guards there. And the Frenchman that I'm with turns into being my bodyguard later. I write about him in my book, Healing the Enemy and Hypnotizing the Devil. I write about him and I call him a different name, but his name was irrelevant right now. And he gets us in to the hotel. So we check in, they tell us, go to your room, we'll call you later. And I go to my room and every floor has a guard making sure whoever's getting off the elevator belongs there. I get a little card. I'll show you this card a little bit soon. Well, I could show you now. I could switch over. I have my camera set up so I could show you some other pictures here. Let's see if I could do this one. Okay, here we go. Okay, there. Okay, so there I am showing you some pictures. I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put me on and show you these pictures. And here, if you notice, is first off, the two books I've written on my travels, Iraq, Healing the Enemy. This is a gift from Dr. Funda and Dr. Stephen Kahn. And they took all of my paraphernalia, put it together, had it framed as you see. And here's my identification to go through the hotel. Excuse me if I could get this a little clearer for you. This way it gives you something to look at. And that'll give you an idea. So I had to carry this with me 24/7. Here's an interesting photo also. This is a photo of the money they were using. This is 250 dinar. And I always like to share the story of 250 dinar with everybody because in 1991, see if I get back on here, sorry. 1991, $3 American was 1 dinar. Hear that in my voice as I speak, or hear my words as I speak them. $3 American was 1 dinar. In 2001, 250 dinars was 7 cents. Wow, picture that. 250 dinars is now 7 cents. So when I would go and change my money into Iraqi money with a $10 bill, I would get this stack of money and they were all dinars. So it's interesting how sometime, you think to yourself, what's inflation about? I think inflation from $3 equal 1 dinar, and now we have 7 cents equals 250 dinars. I think that we have some challenges going on here. I'm going to go back here. If somebody has some kind of a note or something and they hold up their hand, we'll do it. So I'm just giving you some details of the country, of my travels, of the experience. So as I just shared with you, one is a card I had to walk with. I was in a hotel. I'd get off the elevator. If I was on the wrong floor, it wasn't long before they escorted me to the accurate floor. I might share also that the hotel was like a ghost town. When I was there, the only people I saw on this first trip in April of 2001 were Greek, a conference of some sort, people from Greece. Remember, the United States was not allowed to travel to Iraq, but other countries could. And so here I am, this lone American with a group of Greek guys that didn't even speak English. I didn't have a whole bunch of company right away. So as I said earlier, I kind of jumping around, excuse me for that, but I'm going to take you on a line like this. And as I said earlier, I then meet with a crew of people. I meet with who became a friend of mine later, Terry. Terry might be on with us soon. Terry is from France, and Terry is a physical therapist. So Terry's a physical therapist working with Uday Hussein to get him to walk through physical therapy. Now here comes this guy from Chicago, United States, and he's going to hypnotize this guy to walk. That was interesting. Terry had already been there a month when I got there. So as I said, there was this little scrutiny when I sat down at the table with a group of men, about 10, until they got to know me, excuse me. And then once they got to know me, everything became okay. That night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, my phone rings, and it's Kamel, my bodyguard, and Kamel says, "Mr. Larry," and I say, "Yes." That's what they called me all the time, Mr. Larry. "The patient is ready to see you." Wow, 1 o'clock in the morning, okay. And so I go downstairs, get myself dressed, wake myself up, get myself dressed, and I head over to Uday Hussein's house. Now, we often hear stories in the news and what went on during the war of Uday Hussein's house and all the wild animals he had there and all the cars he had there, and was different. But it wouldn't be something that we would find in our country as exotic. Actually, it was kind of like cold, good wording. To get to Uday's house, we drove about 1.5 miles south of the Al-Rashid Hotel. So if you go on Google Earth and you click on the Al-Rashid Hotel and you follow the main road about 1.5 miles, you'll get to a little road that leads to Uday's house. So now we turn down this little road, which has a big sign in front that's written universally with a big circle and a cross in it, says "No entry." Of course, we entered. And we get in this little roadway, and we get to a guard post, and these guards come running out with rifles, holding their rifles aimed at our car. I said, "Oh shit, we're in trouble. We're in trouble right now." And they have the guns aimed right at the windshield. And I don't like guns. I know some of you might be gun enthusiasts and activists, but I don't like guns. As we hear, guns are not doing a whole bunch of good work right now, but these people had guns, big guns. Okay, so Kamel turns on the interior light of the car, waves at them. They nodded, they let us through. We go down about a city block or two and we get to another guard post. This is a different guard post. There's a big cement wall with a hole in it and a gun sticking out of this hole aimed at our car, and those spikes in the road to stop a car from going any further. Whoa, serious business here. This is to protect Uday Hussein, by the way. He was a very paranoid man. I want to share that as we go on. So now we've got this experience of going past the second guard post with this big gun. I mean, I don't know guns. I'd say about 3-4 inches in diameter this barrel was, sticking out through concrete. So they're not going to take any chances. Kamel turns on the interior light, he waves at them, and we pass that guard post. Then we get to a third guard post. This is the interesting one. There's an 8-foot fence, cement, concrete, stone fence all around this home that Uday lives in. And there's a steel, solid steel, not steel, not like wrought iron fence, solid steel fence. You've been use your imagination as I'm talking, and it'll give you an idea. So there's a solid steel fence with a little opening. They slide a door open and they peek through the door, and Kamel gives them a wave and they open the door up. And there are men dressed in suits, excuse the choice of words and maybe judgment, but cheap looking suits with a gun in their hand, about 6 of them. Again, I don't like guns, and now all of a sudden I've got to deal with guns, but you know, here we are, guns. And we enter Uday's house, which is, I'm trying to describe it as blue and white ceramic tile in the front, supposed to be exotic probably, but didn't look, it looked like outside of a bathroom. But there's blue and white tile, ceramic tile, and the guards follow us in, and they're always kind of around you. You know, I think I have a photo later I could show you of, they're all around you, these guards. And the intimidation is beyond words, but it's okay. So we get in there and I wait. I sit down and I wait with Kamel. And that's the only, by the way, it's the only person that's with me right now. And for all of you that are involved in hypnosis, either you've been hypnotized or you are a hypnotist, you'll like this next part. So we get ourselves involved, and now they say, okay, we have to leave here we have to go to the hospital. Ooh, okay. So the hospital, by the way, is real close. So we go to the hospital and we sit there and wait. Now remember, this is 1 o'clock in the morning when we started. Everybody's just kind of sitting around waiting. Some of them are talking in Arabic and I don't understand them. We're waiting. I'm looking through magazines that are written in Arabic. And we're in a waiting room of this hospital that is called a VIP hospital. Much different than the children's hospital you've heard of in Baghdad, VIP hospital. So all of a sudden I see a stirring of people. By the way, there were no iPhones in Baghdad, no iPhones. There was what was called a mobile phone, which would have a distance of about 10 miles, but no iPhones. But I see a stirring. Something's going on, but I didn't hear a phone ring. I didn't hear any beepers go off. Something's going on. We're in this room, so something's going on. So we say, the patient is here. Ooh, everybody stood up straight like God walked in. And here comes Uday Hussein with guards around him, walking with crutches. And he's got a nice shirt on, nice slacks. He's a tall man, about 6 foot. By the way, many Iraqis are not tall. He's a tall man, about 6 foot, maybe a little more. Nice build on him, but he's walking with a hesitation. The hesitation, remember, is that whenever he would put his left foot to the ground, it would shake. And when his left foot would shake, it would seem like he was limping because of the way he would be moving. And later, as I share these stories with you, I'll share the stories with you that this really affected him emotionally, big time. And you say, so what? I would love to hear comments, questions, and I still have, okay. I still don't have anything here. Okay. So we're going to go back. Apologize. I'm looking for some help here. Last time Greg Andrews helped me out. And, that's another one I could do. I'm not going to change it. I was going to say, if I had somebody here helping me, I could keep talking and they could turn my phone on maybe. So going back to meeting Uday. So Uday comes walking in and everybody does a thing like a Hi Hitler. Maybe you might kind of visualize this. It's kind of like up. And they called him Your Excellency. You could obviously tell that everybody was very scared of this individual. They were threatened by him. They were intimidated by him. And were they respectful? I don't know if that you call that respectful. This is my 51st year doing hypnosis. And in 51 years, I've learned how to read energies, even 20 years ago. And the energies I was reading was not that, oh, we respect this guy and we love him. No, the energies were, we're scared of this guy and we've got to act okay. I learned later that was more than just a statement. So Uday comes up to me, he extends his hand, he shakes hands and he says, welcome, Mr. Larry. I'm honored you're here. Okay, nice greeting. So now we're going to go in a room and I'm going to hypnotize him. Picture a hospital room, kind of antiquated, as you'll see later, compared to the United States at this time. Remember, they're in an embargo. They can't purchase things like we have. Most of the things they had were very old. The TV was very old there. The furnishings were old. Later on, I'll show you photos of their computers. Their computers were yellow screens you might remember from the 80s. So now we go in a room and I'm going to hypnotize Uday. And Uday is, he's sitting on the side of one of these little gurneys or whatever you call them, like where they do an examination on the table. Probably Dr. Laura Rosh is there. She could say what it is, but I couldn't hear her anyway. He's sitting on the side of his gurney. So I go over to him and I sit on a stool next to him and we begin to talk. Now we have in this room at this time about 10 or 12 people. Some are dressed in white smocks like a doctor. Some are dressed with suits with guns. And he had a very important person who was his mentor, who was always with him, stood by his side. I'll tell you about him later too. His name was Samani. So Uday and I start talking. Well, as a hypnotist, one thing we need to know is we always need to be in control, because if we're not in control, how are we going to be successful doing hypnosis? So we need to be in control. So I need to be in control with this man because he's in control and I'm the hypnotist and he's going to be the client. And I need to be the person who tells him how to respond. So as I look around the room, I think to myself, I have to in some way show my confidence and strength. By the way, Uday spoke English. In case you have that question, did he speak English? Yes, he spoke English. And he spoke with a slight accent, but he was trained in Oxford, he told me. And he learned English there. He spoke about professors he had and how much he admired them. He spoke about when he was in the United States once when he was a young boy. I mean, I have many stories. I spent 60 hours with Uday Hussein. So you can imagine 60 hours. I'm going to learn a lot from this man. So I say to Uday, this is a very sensitive, serious procedure. He knows nothing of hypnosis, by the way, nothing. He just was told hypnosis might help him. He had already had 2 Iraqi hypnotists and a French hypnotist, and they couldn't do anything with him. Probably, of course, the Iraqis were probably intimidated by him. If you're not going to do well, you might not go home. But I'm going to do well. I'm going to hypnotize this man and I'm going to do okay. So I proceed to tell him this is a very sensitive, intimate procedure. We can't have an audience here for speculating. We need to have this room quiet and without an audience. He said something in Arabic. He turned and said something in Arabic. And some of you might know Arabic. I know Dr. Funda Khan's son does Arabic, and a few others might have Arabic, but it's a guttural type of sound. And he goes, Balar! And immediately everybody left the room except 2 people, one medical person and like a white scrubs type of outfit, like a doctor, an old-fashioned doctor with a white gown. And the other person was Samani, his mentor. So they stood to the side. And I started explaining to him what hypnosis is about, how it works. Now, again, visualize the sensitivity of this whole issue. I'm 7,000 miles from home. I'm with the most hated person in the world. And I have to in some way project confidence at the same time. For all of you hypnotists know this. For those of you that would like to be a hypnotist, know you cannot say, well, let's see if this will work. I often jest of that statement as I've heard hypnotists say those words. Let's see if this will work. Well, how could you, let's see if it's going to work? I often like to compare flying an airplane to hypnosis. And I say, does the pilot ever say, well, let's see if we could land this thing? No. And it's much more difficult to fly an airplane, I'm sure, than hypnotize a person. So to say, let's see if this will work, really weakens your status and your ability of success. So this is going to work. So I proceed to do just a basic progressive relaxation. I just want to kind of get a feel for him. And after we're finished, he opens his eyes and he says something in Arabic to Samani. And Samani gets this posture, and he goes like this, and he says, okay, the patient says that's good, but next time it must be better. Ooh, okay. I very calmly say, well, of course, next time it's going to be better. This is only the first time. We have to do this a little bit at a time and gradually get them there. So I did another induction with him. And again, the same thing. Okay, I have a question from Greg. How did I know? Thank you for this. Yeah. And how did they hear about me? Those are both good questions. I'll give you both those answers. Let me finish this one. And okay, I'm going to do this. So I hypnotize him a second time. This time he does get a little deeper. He opens his eyes and again says something to Samani. Says, that was good, but it must be better. Ooh. So I realized what I needed to do, and as a hypnotist, you might think, what do you do in a case like that? You somehow talk them into falling asleep, because if they fall asleep, then they think they're hypnotized. If they think they're hypnotized, then they're going to be hypnotized. But you must bring them to a point where their consciousness is not intellectualizing. And he's a man that's always in control, so he's intellectualizing. So the third time, I talked to him and they're trying to get closer to hear what I'm saying. I don't mean to have an implication that hypnosis is like magic, but I needed to do something that seemed magical to these people. Because again, remember, they flew me 7,000 miles to be here. I'm with the most hated man on earth. I might be not able to go home if I don't do a good job. So I proceed to whisper to him. And I'm whispering and relaxing him. And I'm attempting to get those people not to hear me. And they're trying to get closer. Stay back. I go like this, my hand, stay back. And I'm whispering. And all of a sudden he goes, ah, I knew it. I got it. So he's sleeping. Yep, I see smiles on the faces. He's sleeping, just what I needed. Okay, so it says to type my message here. I won't type my message here. I got one from Claudia to everyone. How did he hear about you? Great question. He heard about me indirectly through the National Guild of Hypnotists. They're looking for a hypnotist, and they most likely can't find one as crazy as Larry Garrett. They most likely can't find one who's going to do something different. And I guess Dr. Dwight Damon, who runs the National Guild of Hypnotists, he and I have created a relationship, and he knows I'm a little bit far out and different. And I might add, my first hypnosis conference in 1974, they wouldn't let me in the door. At that time, Stanley Mitchell was around. Some of you who've been around for a long time know that name. I know that Joanne Abrahams, she knows Stanley Mitchell's name. Yep, she's over there. Yep. And he didn't like me too much. He said, we don't let people like you in here. Ooh, people like me. I didn't know what it's going through. You know, I'd only been doing hypnosis a few years. I started my practice in 1970. This is 1974, first hypnosis conference. And as he's got the door open part way, stopping me from coming by, Larry Goldberg, somebody might remember the name, says, wait, he's my friend. And I had to share with you, I never knew Larry Goldberg before that moment. But I was his friend, and from then on, I even read his and his wife's eulogy at their funerals and services. That's how close we became. Here's a person who didn't even know me, said I'm his friend. It's called energy. So when you ask how did they hear about me, because I'm different. Some of you might remember the name Walt Sala. So NGH contacted Walt Sala to contact me to talk to Dr. Shali, and that's how they heard about me.
What?
Again, you say, well, why would they choose in the whole country Larry Garrett? Only thing I could think of again is just because how many of you, show me your hands, how many of you would go to Iraq in 2001?
About what?
Friday.
The
There's
what?
one. Yeah, Bishop. Yes, Mijlo. That's it. I'm
Oh,
trying to say it right. Yeah, he was one. He was one of
Well, just tell Larry.
I wanna have an
Hans,
adventure.
students. Yes, I see you there. Good smile too.
But let
Good
me use
smile.
your computer.
Okay, I see Gail Mackenzie Garrett. That's my sister sitting right there.
But my phone, I
Someone doesn't
can't
know
get
what
the
that one was
volume
about,
up, so
but
I
same
can't hear
name.
them.
Okay, so
know
now
how it
I also had another question, and that was from Greg. Let's see if I scroll up. How did you know his problem was mental and not physical? I didn't. I was told by his medical. Somebody says, please ask Gail to mute. Mute. Put your thing on mute, Gail. I don't hear you, but there you go. Put it on mute. Mute is mute.
Okay, all right.
So how did I know? I didn't know that his medical staff is who told me that his issue was mental. And as we go on, I'll share with you how I found out later. I want to have what kind of no answer? I want to have a no answer adventure. I don't know what that is. I want to have an adventure. Okay. From Isaac to everyone. I don't know what that means, Isaac. An adventure?
Talking about this.
Yeah, type me another one, Isaac.
experience.
What kind of adventure? I'm going to give you an adventure.
Larry's been.
Gail, mute. Let's see. I'll mute Gail. I'll mute Gail because she's not hearing us, obviously. And there, how's that? Good. Good. Gail, we had to mute you, Gail. Don't even by trying talking because nobody can hear you. Everybody needs to be muted. I wonder if I could mute everybody. I think I could mute everybody. Can I mute everybody? Lock on, enable waiting room, hide profile, rename themselves, start video, remove participant. Nope. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure everybody's muted. Sorry about that. Hi, Gail. I'm sorry, Sandy. How are you? Sandy's doing a class right now, and she took a break from her class to come and visit me. Thank you, Sandy. I am honored. Honored. Thank you. I love you. Sandy does a class on blueprints for the soul. I've taken her class many times and many years, and I always like to give her a plug because imagine a room measurement that's 10 by 12. That's good. That's what we do with hypnosis maybe. Now imagine a blueprint of this room that's 10 by 12. All the little fine details. I think you have a class starting in a couple of weeks. Yes, Sandy? Yeah, I'll give him later information. Okay, let me continue. So that was a question that Greg had. How did I know that it was mental? The doctors told me there, his medical staff. My adventure, because I held my hand up about going to Iraq 2001. You want to go to, I'm not following you, Isaac. Tell me the details there. Isaac, and by the way, Isaac has a podcast that I'm going to be on soon. Right, Isaac?
That's right.
I wish I could hear you. They
If you can hear me,
Isaac.
I know. Yeah.
Maybe you might
Two
type
thumbs
on
up.
there
Thumbs up.
about
Yeah.
your podcast and what it's called, because Isaac's invited me to do this similar talk about Iraq in 2001.
Basically,
Okay, so we're gonna
I'm
that,
doing
Isaac.
I'm doing a
and
comedy
I promise.
podcast.
All right, so let's continue
Been trying
about
to interview
me
people.
hypnotizing
Anyway, it
him.
doesn't
So I
matter.
was successful in this procedure by him falling asleep. After that, I learned that I needed to correct every time his resistance by having him doze off. By dozing off, with him not remembering everything, he knew the hypnosis was working. That's not my style, but I wanted to make sure I got home. So it became my style. So we left that evening with a lot of camaraderie. Everybody was happy. They said to me, the patient is well satisfied. Remember again, the patient is a threatening man. He's well satisfied. Let's see if I could kind of move through this, tell you more, and see if I could tell you more. I've got a lot of things I would like to share with you. I'm going to share with you slides later. And Larry, do you stay in touch with anyone from Iraq? Yes, Sophia. Hi, Sophia. How are you? Sophia is a great friend of mine from the West Coast, and I always say she's a famous actress. She stops me from saying that, but I'm going to say it anyway. So Sophia asked me a good question. Do I stay in touch? I stayed in touch with my bodyguard for a long time. The war of 2003 created a lot of challenges between what was going on now. I want to share with you that my book, Healing the Enemy, was blacklisted. I'm going to go back to that camera and show you that one just so we have a picture of it there. It was blacklisted, Healing the Enemy. Nope, that's it. No, there we go. Healing the Enemy. Healing the Enemy was blacklisted for about 12 years because the government did not want me to say good things about Iraq. So, you know, here I am talking about these kinds of things, you know, because if I wasn't afraid of Uday, I'm not going to be afraid of anybody else. You know, I had permission to go there. They just didn't want me to. Can you imagine starting a war with a book? Those of you who read my book, Healing the Enemy, which I may add is different than Hypnotizing the Devil. Hypnotizing the Devil was about more about Uday. Healing the Enemy was more about the people and how nice they were. I'll mute them for you. That's all. There we go. Yeah, if you're not muted, it's going to distract people from hearing me. Thank you. Okay. You tell me what you need. I've got my screen open in front of me with any notes that come on, and I'm going to make that my priority, my notes. This is the first time I've ever done a Zoom with nobody being able to talk. It reminds me of Facebook Live. You ever do Facebook Live? You can have 1,000 people watching you, but you can't see them and you can't talk to them. So Facebook Live, Isaac is typing away at me. I can see him typing away. Good for you, Isaac. We're going to get to know each other better. And I hope that you like my personality because that's what it is. So going back, okay. So Healing the Enemy was blacklisted because the story is all about how great the people were, how great they treated me. I never once met with hostility or negative energy. Whenever I would walk by a person, I'm going to go back on my camera because I'm talking like you could see me. And so whenever I'd walk by a person, they would bow their head and touch their chest. So, and I asked Kamal, I said, by the way, Kamal was with me almost 24/7. He didn't sleep with me, but he was there at moment's notice. And they would do that. And I'd say, what does that mean? He says, that's respect for the guest. they treat their guests better than they treat their own. Whenever you get a chance, I'd love to hear about some of the Iraqi citizens you met. You've got it. So I met some great people. You know, I have such a great presentation planned for you today. And I don't know how we're going to do it. We might do it again, but I have videos of great people I've met. So I'm going to speak about one great person. His name was Ali. Ali was a person who owned a jewelry store in a hotel. Remember, I was confined to the hotel unless I was with Kamel. So Ali and I got to be good friends because there's nothing to do in the hotel except go to the jewelry store. Not that I bought jewelry, but it was people who were alive. There was not much going on in this hotel. Remember, about 100 guests, excuse me, 15 floors, doesn't work. So if you think of that, the restaurant was open. They always had great food. I have great videos of their food. I have great photos of their food. They had wonderful food. Nobody there. Can you imagine? Nobody there, and they have all this great food. We go a little further, and then we go further and we find out that the jewelry store and then another little gift store are the only people besides guards, staff that work there, and there's no guests. It's, you know, it's like a ghost town. By the way, at that time in Iraq, there was no McDonald's, there's no Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's none of that stuff. When I was in Amman, Jordan, they had McDonald's, they had Kentucky Fried Chicken. To see that written in Arabic was quite a sight. I'm going to show you some of my souvenirs later too that I brought from Iraq. So go back to what Isaac asked about some of the people that I met. So Ali and I became friends, and on, you know, I'm going to jump. On my second trip, which I am asked to go back in August, I contact our government. Some of you know my great friend, Joe Triani. Joe Triani is a friend of mine for many years. He's a person who taught me to go into hypnosis full time. That's how special we became to each other. And Joe Triani has connections with the government, so he got all these permissions going on. So now on the second trip that I'm in Baghdad, 9/11 happens the next day after I get there. Can you imagine that? And so the TV's on, and we're gathered there together watching the TV, which I may have also had. I even have videos of the TV. I'm talking about videos. Hopefully I'm going to show them to you later if I get this drive working. The TV is on, and all of a sudden I'm hearing all this commotion on the TV, and I see the towers falling, and Ali, who I met and became friends with, says, look, Mr. Larry, that's your country. But it's in Arabic, so I think to myself that it's a sci-fi movie. Excuse me, sci-fi movie of towers falling down. But it wasn't a sci-fi movie, it was really happening. So getting to know Ali, I got to know his partner, Samara. I got to know a few other people who would come in occasionally and chat with us, because I became almost like the celebrity, because no Americans have been around for quite a while. So now we're getting to know each other. So as Isaac asked me about the people I met, the citizens I met, even on the streets, I have a great story about Terry, the physical therapist, and I. When I got there, by the way, Terry had been confined to the hotel for a month, unless he had a bodyguard with him. When I got there, I said, oh, wait a minute, we're in Baghdad. We can't just sit around this hotel. So then I would say I'd say to Kamel, I'd say, can't we go somewhere and see something outside this hotel? I will check with His Excellency. Okay, check with His Excellency. So these are great stories. Isaac, you bring up a good point. See, you're going to lead me into the story that's going to be most exciting. So first thing we do is we go to the market at night. In Baghdad, the market is closed during the day from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. because temperatures will reach 125, 130 degrees. So they close up. I may also add how antiquated they were in 2001. We have a different Baghdad right now, obviously, but in 2001, they would lose electricity every day at a certain time. The loss of electricity was because they needed to conserve it. They had plenty of oil, as I was told, but no resources. So we go to the market, it's nighttime. So Terry and I are like two kids, I mean, just imagine this, we're in the market, everything is taken care of, whatever we want to buy, we can buy, whatever we want to do is okay. Obviously, Uday Hussein was one of the most wealthiest people around. And I've got my screen blocked, so if there's some kind of question, remember, send me a chat, okay? So we're at the market, and Terry and I are roaming, and Kamel's always real close to us. He's watching us. He's got a gun inside of his jacket here. So he's always got his hand inside of his jacket like this, and he's always walking around like this. So he meets some cute lady, and he starts talking to her, and Terry and I keep walking. All of a sudden, we're all alone. So when Isaac says, tell me about some of the people we met, well, here we are, all alone in the middle of the marketplace, an American and a Frenchman. Obviously, they could tell we're not Iraqis because we look like a couple of gawking tourists. And we're stopping in different shops and checking things out and looking around. And it was really an exciting adventure. Met a couple of young kids. And it's interesting, again, giving them a 250 dinars was not much, but giving them that was an interesting experience because they would be so pleased with a little tip like that. And all of a sudden, this limo pulls around the corner and Kamel jumps out of the limo and says, what are you guys doing? You could get killed. You could be in danger here. And he's all upset. And we're having a good time and nobody's bothering us. So it was quite an interesting experience the night at the market. So as you bring up question, each time you were there, how long did you stay for? Were you well compensated for your time? Claudia, you ask a great question. Each time I was there, Claudia, I was there for 10 days. I don't know how they arranged it. They asked me, how much did I want? This is a good story about money. They asked me, how much did I want? And I said to them that I wanted to be compensated. If I had a full day, Claudia, you're a hypnotist. I know we just met recently, but you have a full day of clients. Type on there, how much would you make if you had a full day of clients? You could type on there. If somebody else wants to, I'm okay. Full day of clients, Claudia. I see your face there. $1,000. Good for you. So I said, I want $1,000 a day. You need a new career, Isaac? You're right. Isaac, we have a hypnosis class coming up in December, and I would like you to be one of the students. Yes. So I told him, I says, well, if I had a full day of clients, which I didn't always have a full day of clients, I would make about $1,000 at this time, this 2001, be a little bit more now, $1,000. So I said, $1,000. So I'm there 10 days, that's $10,000, right? So that's how much I would make while being there for 10 days. So that was one. And how long I stayed for, I told you 10 days each time. I was there twice. Good, keep going with questions. Any questions you have? Thank you for this because I was getting lost with no comments, no questions, but I am here and I want to tell you stories. So let me tell you more stories about some of the adventures that we had. Okay, so I wonder if I could, yes, Isaac, a new career. I wonder if I could get this to share as I wanted it to. Okay, I might get this to share. Okay, hey, can you, Isaac, shake your head. Can you see my sharing screen here? Good, okay. I'm going to take this down for now, my other one. And so now what we're going to do, Anita taught me this one, FN and F5. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can still see me on the corner here, right? Isaac, nod your head. Sandy, yes, I can see you, Sandy. I can see Isaac. Okay, good. And so now here we're going to have some fun. Whoa, the Mercury must have stopped retrograding. The universe is taking care of me. So now we're going to have fun because I'm going to show you some photos and slides, even if I don't get the movies out. If I get the movies out, I'm really going to freak you out, but let's try slides. Okay, good. This is what we rode in across in the desert in these SUVs. A Jordanian, an Iraqi, a Frenchman, an American traveled across the no-fly zone, 500 miles in the middle of the night. We left Amman, Jordan about 7 p.m. and we got to Baghdad about 5 a.m. I didn't tell you also, when we got to Baghdad, they arrested the driver of the car, the Jordanian. These are good stories as I think about them. These slides will help me a lot. They arrested him because you're not allowed to drive a car from another country in the streets of Baghdad. There's where you see these cars parked now is a car barn. Taxis go there, these cars go there. And so they arrested him because he went in there, but because we had a little clout, we knew the leader. He got out of jail, but he did go to jail. So as I go to the next one, here we are on the highways of Baghdad. You see that bridge there? That viaduct, that was the only viaduct we passed for 500 miles. Interesting. So I asked Kamal, I says, what is that? Where does that viaduct lead to? Now, if you look to the right and left, you think you're seeing a road. But if you were able to look real close, I don't know if my cursor shows anything, but if you were able to look real close to the right of the viaduct, you really see a hill, a mound of dirt. There was no road there. I said, what's that for? He says, for the future. Isn't that an interesting statement? For the future. I am so excited the slide presentation's working. It's going to make our presentation so much more exciting. Okay, next slide. Here's a map of going from Jordan to Baghdad. You see that? Now look, we have one road there that we passed, one, and then look from that road to Baghdad, there is nothing, nothing. If you look from Jordan and you go to Jordan, you go to a little white mark that's sticking out before that main road. That's where we had breakfast at 2 o'clock in the morning. That was it, 1 block long. The road was when we pass into Iraq's country. So they give you an idea, great idea. Nothing there, nothing. Imagine that, imagine traveling 500 miles. What do you do about gas? You load up at this little road. You load up and you have 2 tanks. Imagine a car breaking down, no cell phones. There, by the way, they have no road service. Okay, next one, there we go. Here we are, the Iraqi, the Jordanian, the American, and the Frenchman. By the way, I kept in touch with the Frenchman for many years after that. His name was Hotel, excuse me, hope I'm getting it right. And Kamal, the Jordanian, I apologize, I can't remember his name. He didn't talk to us much. And I see I'm going to get a note here in a chat. So let me click on the chat. I cannot see any slide. Deborah, how come you can't see a slide? Paula, did the citizens know why you were there? Deborah, why don't you see slides? I'm going to ask you again. Deborah, you don't see a slide? Shake your head, yes or no. I see you. No? Isaac, do you see the slides? Yes, you see? Okay, so Isaac's saying yes. Greg, help her. She's not seeing the slides, Greg. Okay. Anita Barton, I got it. Yes, you're right, Anita. Thank you so much. Anita helped me last night. It was almost midnight. She was helping me work on this thing. I can't stay, but I hope to catch the replay. Janet, I will send you a recording. Did they pay you 10,000? If you total 1,000 a day, you figure it, Sophia. And did you meet their family and wives? No, I did not meet Uday's family or wife. I'm going to go back. Did you see any women in business enterprises, or were there none to be seen anywhere in public? Mitzi, that's a great question. The women that I met, Samara had a business. She was part of that jewelry store I told you. There was a lady next door. I think I have a photo of her. I'll show you her photo. She had another store. She was in business. And the women that I met in the restaurant, they were all dressed very Western. They didn't wear burqas or anything like that. They were dressed Western. So that was good. Let's see what else I have here. Looks like you all are about to plan a heist. Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yes, good one. Yes, I can see them. Chris, everyone, I can see them. Okay, good. I'm glad that you guys are seeing them. I'm gonna put this back on minimize. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Deborah, are you seeing me now, Deborah? Slides? Good. Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide here. Where's the next slide here? What's going on here? Come on, I'm working here. Don't give me a head part now. Okay, there. That's my hotel room. and obviously my shoes laying on the floor. Look at the TV in the recliner and look at the lamps and the antiquated furniture in 2001. Yes. You see the date on the bottom, 9/1. In case you doubt that I was there September 11th, I think 9 is September, 1 is the first date or the first year. And yes, so look at that. I mean, that's what I lived in, 10 days each time. Nice, clean, everything was clean, everything was spotless. Here is my ID to travel in a hotel. There's the hotel I stayed at. I was up here somewhere in this level here. I don't think you're seeing, are you seeing my cursor, Isaac? Can you see my cursor? Yeah, okay. Yes, okay. So I was up here somewhere. I can't remember where, maybe up here. And those are the grounds. I have a lot of great photos of the grounds. We didn't have digital cameras at the time. Otherwise, I'd have 1,000 photos. But I did 35mm photos, and probably I had a couple of hundred. So look at this ID here. By the way, you see the arrival? 9, this is, it looks like 9/2, 9/1/01, departure 6/3. I don't understand that. But anyways, that's the rate. I don't know what that rate was because I didn't pay anything. Oh, look at my room. I was telling you what floor, 1116. Remember, that hotel was empty. I'm on the 11th floor. Let's keep going. Okay, here's a good one. Here's me standing in the lobby of the Al-Rashid Hotel. By the way, if you notice, every photo is Saddam Hussein. Every photo. Every photo. I have a couple of chats. Let's see what my new chats say. Those lamps are back in style now. Yes, they are, Mitzi. Looks like grandma's house. Yes, it does, Isaac. And thank you for those chats. That's going to help me going. Help me get going here. And I just appreciate it so much that we're able to communicate somehow. What did Margaret say? Maybe sign out and sign back in. Deborah, Deborah's on. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So this was a display of art. It was an art display at the hotel. Everything had Saddam Hussein's photo through the town. I'll show you some photos later of that. Let's move on. Unless you have questions, send me a chat. Okay. Every time I chat on chat, I gotta hit this again. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's the entrance to the hotel. Myself and Terry, the physical therapist. Terry, if you're on, send me a chat. Terry is traveling this weekend, and he's in the mountains of, I think he's in Italy today. He's from France. And he said if he got an internet connection, he would join us. Terry and I became close friends, and we still stay in contact. He's on some of our Sunday Zooms, by the way. There we are, though. You see the ground there with the tile of Bush, the father Bush. After the Americans arrived in Baghdad, the first thing they did was destroy those tiles. You might remember that from the news. We got another chat. Okay, let me go up here to that chat. And you are doing awesome, Larry. Thank you. Erica, I love you. Thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it. Erica, you're such a generous person for telling me, because I'll tell you what, when I couldn't get voice from you people talking or looking at me, and I couldn't say anything to you and get a response, I almost freaked out. But I said, no, Larry, you don't freak out in Baghdad. You're not going to freak out here. Okay, I'll minimize that again. So Terry and I standing in a doorway. By the way, I have the same photo on video, and Amal says, there's the American standing on Bush's face. It was really an interesting thing. Isaac, maybe when I do the podcast with you, we'll get the word out to all these people and they'll all be listening, and we're going to try and do the videos as well, right? You can help me. Are you computer savvy, Isaac? Good. Okay. Because I have some great videos. Okay. Here is my view from my window of the hotel grounds. I swam every day in this pool alone. You know, I told you we didn't have many people. We didn't have many guests, but I would walk the grounds. I couldn't go beyond the grounds, and I'd walk the grounds. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a couple of shacks there. Those shacks were poverty people in poverty. next door to this grand hotel. By the way, in case you're curious, Uday Hussein owned the hotel. Uday Hussein owned a television and radio station, and Uday Hussein also owned the hotel, radio, TV station, oh, and the newspaper. I have newspapers that I have from Baghdad, and I apologize because even though I was preparing for today, I forgot them at the office. So just trust, and maybe we're going to do this again on Isaac, and with Isaac, we'll have some interaction because he and his partner will question me, and see, he's shaking his head. If you see Isaac Herman there, we've got to go on his thing. And maybe Isaac, you might type on there later the name of your podcast so we can find it. Let's go back to the next slide. Oh, we don't want to miss that one. Here's Terry and myself, and this little man sat in the hotel lobby. Nita asked me last night, she says, why didn't you bring some of those carpets home? Boy, oh boy, I have to tell you, I could have brought everything home, but I didn't know how. When I show you what I brought home, you're going to all laugh, but I brought some nice things home. After dinner, tea and hookah. What are you smoking in there? I put on there apple tobacco. If you got caught with marijuana in Baghdad, they most likely would cut your hands off. The crime in Baghdad was so severe that what would occur would be serious retribution if you did anything wrong. I often saw people with one leg, and I would ask about that, and I was told by Kamal, oh, they lost that during the Iraqi war, the Gulf War. And I found out later they were also punished in some way. If you stole something, you would cut off your hands. It was serious government. But then we have to question, was that government any worse than what we've done going there? Let me see the chats here. It's called bad comedy. Okay. Did you eat with them? My husband had to eat a sheep's eyeball when he was there in Iraq in 2006. Claudia, that's an interesting thought there. I didn't, I mean, they had things like that, but I didn't eat them. There's Isaac's website. It's called Bad Comedy. Okay, Isaac, thank you. So Claudia, you bring up a good point. 2006 was when the Americans were there. At the restaurant we stopped at, Claudia and everybody, we did have some strange food there. They had a lamb that was on a skewer turning around, and they had other stuff. I did eat with some people. I'll show you photos of that later as well. And because I went to an experience called the Sufis, and the Sufis was a great experience. But here we are. Photo of the server, Terry, the physical therapist from France, and Larry smoking a hookah. Want me to tell you my biggest concern of smoking is hookah? I used to smoke cigarettes. And those of you who have smoked cigarettes and you quit, I wonder if you'd be willing to risk another one. Not me. I always had this feeling that if I took a hit on a cigarette now, I'd be addicted again. Got rid of that through hypnosis, and I don't want to go back. So when they wanted me to smoke the hookah, do I have to inhale? Sounds like Bill Clinton, doesn't it? I didn't inhale. Let me get back here. Okay, I got another couple of chats here. Let's see the chats. I'm British. My husband was there helping their Navy. Great, great. Thank you for sharing that. Isaac, were there any interesting Iraqi customs for eating? Yeah, I'll share some with you in a moment. Oh, I'm so sorry. I lost my screen. Shit. Okay, there we go. We're back again. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next screen. Okay, next screen. Uday with his staff, walking on crutches. You could see his posture is that of one who is impoverished in some way mentally. You could see he's not feeling good about who he is. The doctor on his left, I got to know him personally, has a daughter who lives in Detroit. The doctor on the right was kind of a smart ass. We never got along well because he felt threatened. The doctor in the back on the left, he and I got along pretty good. But the doctor on the left in the front, we had a great conversation. He wanted all about the United States, what it's like, and his daughter lives in Detroit, and one day he's going to go there. So that was my first experience. here we are driving around. And I write in here, a woman carries her groceries home. These are women, of course, who are wearing burqas. I told you there are a lot of women there who was dressed professionally, Western style with slacks or skirts and no burqas. These are the streets of Baghdad, though. Let's move on. Unless you see something there, I see another couple of chats. Let me go back to my chats. You can see there's grid. You can see the grid system here. And did you eat with them? Yeah, your husband ate. Let me move this down. Okay. I'm surprised they let you take pictures. Robert, I'm going to tell you a good one. Yes, Bill was a gem with hookahs. That was a good one too. Robert, I'll tell you a good story. When I went there, they let me do anything. But my first time there, I could only have a camera. By the way, Terry from France took hundreds of pictures and he has them on slides. And we spoke about interacting and trading and sharing them. The second time when they asked me to come there, it's a good question from Robert. I said, okay, I will come back, but I have to bring a video camera and my computer. And you know what their answer was? We'll get back to you. So I'm thinking to myself, how interesting, because both of them were contraband. When I went back the second time, I might share with you, I'm going to share with you visually if I could. I share with you this. Could I share it like this? I don't think I can right now. Is I flew on one of the first flights from Amman, Jordan to Baghdad. Out of all of the trepidation or fear I may have experienced in Baghdad or Iraq, the greatest fear was flying in an airplane over the desert of Iraq, knowing that the Americans were shooting planes down. But if you look on history, and I'll show you a ticket later, we were allowed to fly there at this time. Now, this is before September 11th, by the way. Yes, before September 11th. That's right, because I think earlier we saw I got there September 2nd. I got my dates all screwed up. That's a long time. It was 20 years ago. I'm lucky I can remember 20 minutes ago sometimes. So 20 years ago is interesting too. Okay, I think we're good with caught up with messages. So let's see if we got next one. What have I got here? Marketplace closes at 2 p.m. because of the heat. That's the marketplace of Baghdad. Interesting setting there. A lot of carts, a lot of horses, a lot of cars as you see, but different. So I'm going to move on to the next one, unless you had questions. Here's an Iraqi boy I met at the marketplace at night. He was so amazed meeting an American. He spoke some English and he was so amazed meeting an American. Let's see what I have here for a chat. How high would the temperature get? I read one day 127 in the middle of the afternoon, and it always ran about 120, 125 in the middle of the day. So I had a great conversation with this boy. He was amazed. I talked to an American. Look at the smile on him. He's excited. I was excited to meet him too. I love young people, by the way. I love infants, especially. Infants are cradle in your arms, are pure subconscious. They haven't been contaminated yet by the world. Some of you saw that photo of me and a neighbor from down the street and about how it would be to go back in time. We had some great experiences on some of our Sunday meetings. If you've never joined our Sunday meeting, join our Sunday meeting the first Sunday of every month. You know, I promote them as best I can. You know, I've been doing this 51 years. I'm no longer here to make my living with hypnosis. So if you get promotion from me, you know it's for you, not for me. You see, I love it that you're here, but you don't have to be. Let's go back to this one. Yes, I did see this picture. Oh, with the baby. Yes, thank you, Lisa. Yes, that was good, wasn't it, Lisa? Lisa's a great friend of mine from many years ago. We know a common person who was my original instructor, Fred Shavel. Okay, this is interesting. I'm shopping at night. You can tell it's dark. And I became sick eating fresh dates. If you read my book, Healing the Enemy, I speak about eating fresh dates. If any of you have ever had a fresh date, if you like figs, figs are nothing compared to a fresh date. If you want to taste some great dates, by the way, you might not shop at Aldi's, but Aldi's has some of the greatest fresher dates rather than dried dates you might ever want to try. But here I am at a fruit stand with fruit from Baghdad. Some people said, don't eat the fruit because it's contaminated with human feces. I didn't taste any human feces in the fruit, but boy, I sure tasted some great fruit. And I sure got it carried away. When we would have lunch or dinner, they'd have a big bowl of all this fruit, exotic fruit, and then this big bowl of fresh dates. And as I say, I love dates anyway, but I became obsessed with dates. What have I got here? Isaac, also fantastic cure for constipation. I had no constipation, but my last day in Baghdad, I got real sick. I'll tell you about that when I get there. Whoa, how about this one? University of Baghdad, built in 610 AD. Whoa, I was in here. I walked the halls in this building. Look at this building. Look at the immaculate condition. You know, shame on people for going and bombing this historical city of Baghdad. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the architecture. I was in awe. I love architecture anyway, but I was in awe as I saw buildings 1,000 years old and common. I saw buildings that were destroyed. I'm going to show you buildings of again, I tell you about some of the travels I had. I went to, can't remember the name. I'll get it. I'll get it as we go to the slide. Here's 3 boys on the shores of the Tigris River. American. Great story, great story. I so enjoyed. Look at this family washing clothing in the Tigris River. Can you imagine washing your clothes in 2001 in a river? And if you look close, it doesn't look like the cleanest river around. I have another chat. I'm thanking you for these chats because it's given me abilities to answer. I hope somehow you're enjoying this. If you've left me, that's okay. Let's see, why am I not? Oh, there we go. Okay. I've seen that happen in northern Michigan. Good for you. Good for you. Yes, okay. Okay, so let's move on with our slides here. Okay, here's a museum of Iraq, Baghdad. And it was a great museum. You may have heard about this museum. When the Americans got to Baghdad, they destroyed the museum, and things that were in the museum were thousands of years old. If you read some of the history, as I began to learn more, you find that the Germans came to Baghdad, and I think it was in the 30s, and stole a lot of the artifacts from some of the areas. I'm having a little bit of a loss in quick short-term memory, but I get to it in a minute. And let's go here. This is good. We were on our way about 60 miles from Baghdad, as you see, traveling about 90 miles an hour. There are no speed limits in Iraq. There were no state troopers, no speed limits. No, the only time we got stopped by police was in Amman, Jordan. You see, I have thousands of stories. It took me a year to write my first book, Healing the Enemy. And I have thousands of stories, but I'm just kind of going through them right now so that I could give you a little bit of an idea how we're doing here. We're doing well. We're doing well. So now watch this one. Okay, traffic count. Now here's what I was trying to remember the word, Babylon. Babylon. The gates of Babylon. Imagine this. Wait till I share with you some photos of Babylon. These are the gates. By the way, this was also kind of destroyed during the war. I think Deborah's showing me something, Deborah. That's her way. You want to show me something, Deborah? Send me a chat, Deborah. Okay, type a chat for me. So the gates of Babylon. By the way, I met a great dog at the gates of Babylon. Great dog. I petted him, talked to him. I love animals. I love animals. I love infants. I love people too, but I love the purity of unconditional love. The purity of unconditional love is beyond comprehension. I'm doing a presentation in October for the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference. I've done the presentation there every year since they started. Hear my title and be there. Enlightenment is wisdom without judgment. You hear those words? And I think dogs, cats, every other animal, but I think infants have enlightenment because they're not making judgments. When you make a judgment, you lose consciousness. Why is he wearing that shirt? I wouldn't wear that shirt. Put you down a notch. I wonder why they painted their house that color. I wouldn't paint my house that color. You lost a little bit of enlightenment. Let's see what here we have. Deborah. I'm taking a few photos of your photos. Oh, don't worry, Deborah, I send them to you. I hope that's okay. If it's not okay, I'll delete them. No need to delete. I will send them to you, Deborah. I will send them to you. I will send them to you, I don't know, Dropbox or something. We'll do it. So it's okay. Yes, take photos of my photos. Okay, let's go back to Babylon. Here's Babylon. There's Kamal. That was my bodyguard. See the gates here? The gates of Babylon. We had a tour. Unfortunately, I didn't have my video camera on this first trip to Iraq, but I did take a lot of photos. My second trip, I did a lot of videos, I have about 4 hours of video. And if I get this thing running today, I'll share them with you. And if not, too bad, we'll do it another time, maybe with Isaac. So here we are in the gates of Babylon. Look beyond the gate and you're going to see ruins that have been there for years. I have another, let's see if I got it here, excuse me. Okay. I love how your book comes alive before my eyes. Anna, I love you. By the way, if you don't know Anna, follow her on Facebook. Anna's going to teach you how to live to be 100 years old. I follow Anna closely. Let me get back down here. I got a couple more. Okay. Okay. How many hours a day did you work? Oh, 2. Just, but here, remember too, I might have only worked 2 hours a day doing hypnosis, but I would spend 3 or 4 hours with Uday every night. Every night we would sit and talk. We would talk about his country. We'd talk about my country. That was good. For those that may not know what is special about Babylon, Babylon is the oldest city in the world. It's where language started. It's I can't think of the word right now. It's the core of humanity. Of course, they say Africa, but maybe Babylon was in Africa at one time. How were all these ancient buildings maintained? Was it a government department? Yes. During the war of 1991, I think that was called the Gulf War. Yes, the Gulf War. Many buildings were destroyed. Much of Babylon was destroyed. Much of Babylon was destroyed in 2003 and 4 as well. When you go to war, you don't have any aesthetic beauty in your mind. You don't say, oh, that's Babylon. That's the oldest city in the world. We need to treasure it. But wait, I'm going to give you some more slides of Babylon, and you'll see that Babylon needed to be protected. Okay, that's fun. So that's Kamal there anyway, with the sunglasses on. The guy on the left, that's our tour guide. He was really an interesting man. Everybody that spoke English here, by the way, everything was in English. Signs were in English. People spoke English, but with the heavy Arabic accent. Here's a Lion of Babylon, statue protecting the city. Wait, I got more for you. Look up Babylon for those of you that aren't familiar with it. I'm not a great historian on it, but I just know what I know. And did you get a private tour? Of course, there were no tourists. And I got private tour all the time. Everywhere I went, I was led. I mean, I was really treated well. I told you that. That's how were those ancient Babylon, the cradle of civilization. Yes, Ellie, thank you. That was what a word I was trying to think of. The cradle of civilization. Do you think Iraq was invaded after 9/11 by Bush regime for the antiquities? and the destruction of the world's history? Margaret, I've never thought of that. I never have given that speculation. All I know is I remember a speech that Bush made before the war started. That, remember too, I have a very personal, intimate feeling for Baghdad, very strong feeling. You can imagine. I mean, I only spent 20 days there. By the way, I was invited there after 9/11, and the FBI said I'd better not go back because I might not come home. I'm going to use these words. The war of Iraq ruined a great gig for me. I know it's kind of humorous, but I had a great gig. I mean, I was well taken care of. I mean, did you ask about a private tour? Here I am in Babylon, alone. I want to share with you something that he said as we go on further. So thank you for these chats because they're helping me along. Let's go, watch. Here, the King's Palace, 2,600 years old, with the room still intact. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? If you read my book, I go into details about King Nebuchadnezzar, however I say it. Easy to look at that word, but hard if I want to pronounce it. This is the hallways and the rooms of the castle. Looks like a labyrinth. Yes, it does, Anita. Yes, it does. Anita wants to build a labyrinth. And it does look like a labyrinth. I wasn't able to walk through the halls there. Was I able to go through the gates of the Hanging Garden? Yes, yes. The Babylon are famous in history for their existence. Yes, I was. Even in Babylon, you are the MVP. What does MVP stand for? Nice wording, nice initials, whatever it stands for. I did go through the gardens, even in Babylon. Can you hear us now? No, I'm not. Somebody do something. Talk to me, somebody. Deborah, unmute you. I'm only looking at a couple of pictures. I see Deborah's picture, Mishalov, and Sandy. That's the only picture I see. The rest of you I don't see. Yes, I see you waving. Those are only, I don't see the other pictures right now because I'm looking at the slides. So no, Deborah, I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. But hey, so what? We're still doing a good tour,
Can you
aren't we?
hear me,
Yes,
Larry?
Deborah? We're doing a good tour. Are we having fun? Yes, we're having fun. We're having fun. Most valuable person indeed. Oh, thank you. Deborah, thank you. I love you. Gloria, now I know what you meant. Gloria, it's good to see you. I hear you. We've been talking about you recently. So I hope your ears were ringing. I think it was the day before yesterday we were talking about you. Here's a tour guide and Terry discussing the age of the wall. Will you look at that mortar? Woo, ooh. By the way, I have a good bricklayer. If any of you need a good bricklayer, he did a wonderful job on some of my buildings and a few others. But remember, 2,000 years old. This is before Christ. And we thought that was old, 2,000 years ago. Look at those bricks. Are they laid straight or what? Take a picture of that, Deborah. They are laid straight. Yes, they are laid straight. I don't care. You take pictures if you want. Later on, if you want, you'll send me emails. And we have a couple of chats here. Let's see what we have. Share the moment. Share more with us about your reaction to the towers falling, about the moment that you realized that what you were seeing was actually for real and not something out of a sci-fi movie. What were the first thoughts that flashed across your mind? Ooh, Mitzi, let's see if I could put that. Isaac says, I'm in Andersonville, if that's close by, and I'm also a young person. I was born and bred in technology. Yes. Okay, let's see if, oh, that was earlier. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my straight here. Okay, share more with us. Okay. So to share more with you, Mitzi, about my feelings, I want to say I freaked. But if you know me, I don't freak. I don't say, oh my God, what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. No, not at all. It was more like, wow. I have to share a story with you as I think that. Sandy DeLagey, who's one of the views I could see. I'm not sure why, Sandy and Deborah, but you are two favorite people of mine. So that's probably why I'm only seeing 4 pictures, myself, Mishlov, Sandy, and Deborah. And Sandy once explained to me the difference between, I said to her, what's the difference between the subconscious mind and the soul? And without hesitation, I love you too, Gloria, thank you. Without hesitation, Sandy said, well, the subconscious mind looks at a beautiful piece of art and says, beautiful, beautiful piece of art. And she says, and the soul looks at the piece of art and they go, I don't know if you remember that, Sandy, but I've always remembered that phrase and I've shared it with 1,000 people. So when I saw the towers falling down and then I realized what that meant, I just felt like, shit, now what do we do? And so she was expressions, but we all have some. So that was my feeling, Mitzi, and great question. I appreciate so much this chat. As I say, you know, we all know that story when the universe gives you lemons, make some lemonade. Add some sugar to it though, even though I don't want to drink much sugar. Since my cancer healing, since the cancer healing, I'm doing less sugar. But Dr. Funda Khan says, don't do sugar. Okay, all right. Listen, Sandy's laughing. Yeah, you don't want to listen to Dr. Funda Khan. Here's a map of ancient Babylon. Babylon flooded 3 times. You know that story? The king moved the Euphrates River. Want to hear a good story? 15 miles to the west. Can you imagine 2,000 years ago moving a river 15 miles? Can you imagine? Can you imagine the architectural strength, the engineering of 2,000 years ago? Was Babylon the cradle of civilization? Are we talking about some beings that maybe came from another planet? Are we thinking about the pyramid of 6,000 years ago? Any different? What does that say on the bottom? 11,600 BC. That's a map. See it on the bottom there? Look down there. 11,600 BC. Wonderful trip renewal, Larry. Thanks. Must now teach an 8-year-old. Yes, Steve, do it. Thank you, Steve, for being here. And ciao, and thank you. And so I'm gonna go into this map. Can you imagine this map being drawn so many years ago? Again, pause for a moment to move a river 15 miles to the west. When I was told this, I was in awe. I was in awe because it's hard to imagine. Okay, here's a great story. I didn't know if we were going to have this one. You see that little opening at the bottom? That's a door. Babylon, you know, is a city of 3 cities. It flooded 3 times, and that's why they moved the river. Look at that arch that looks like a basement window. Was originally a door. 3 cities built on top of each other. Look at the brickwork. Can you look at that brickwork of 2,000 years ago? It looks like the top part's been redone, but look at the bottom. Look at that, incredible. Can you imagine, you know, some of you know me and I am a pioneer. I am an inquisitive person. There is nothing I cannot do is what I tell people. And people will challenge me sometime. I say this one, at my time in life, I could do anything. I just don't want to. That's the best answer I could give you. I could do anything. I have flown an airplane. I have gone to Baghdad. This is the one. I am the only American who has ever sat down and talked to anybody in the Saddam Hussein family without being shot and be able to talk as I'm talking to you. I mean, we had great conversations, Uday and I. I'll go into some of those later. Okay, here's another great photo. Babylon, look at this, look at this. Now, if you look at the roadway, remember the gate? I took a photo of the gate. We were at the other end of that. Now I'm at this far end. When we were walking there, maybe I've got the photo with this. Let me see if I got a photo of this with our tour. Nope, that we're not ready for that guy yet. Oh, okay. When we were walking here in Babylon, I don't want that guy. not yet. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. Okay. When we were walking in Babylon, the tour guide stopped and he says, "Look down at your feet. What do you see?" In his Arabic accent. I said, not much, ground. He says, "That's asphalt." Oh, okay. He says, "That is asphalt over 1,000 years old." No kidding. And there wasn't a pothole to be seen. Smooth asphalt, 1,000 years old with no potholes and no cracks. How did they do that 1,000 years ago? Do you think that we know anything? I hope that my story is getting into some of your ears to say, you know, this is a marvelous story. And it's too bad that my book was blocked for so many years, because when I first wrote the book, the first year, I had a publisher from Georgia. I always remember her. We worked on it for a few months. She had 8 publishers and 3 movie houses interested in the story. Imagine that now, hear that. 8, 3 movie houses. I can't remember all of them, but some were very famous. I could think of them later. And she called me one day and she said, "Larry, we can't publish your book." Why? It's been blacklisted. Blacklisted, what does that mean? That means that they're not going to publish it. The story is too sensitive. Did any of the agencies interrogate you to see if you were a spy? No, not at all. Claudia, I was treated with such respect. I'm sure your husband has a different view, because in 2006, Claudia, Baghdad was a different world. Look at the photos I've shown you so far of peace. I don't want to get emotional, of peace and love. Every person I'd walk by would bow their head and touch their chest with reverence to the visitor. Not that any of the agency, he loved them. Who loved them? Oh, he loved them. Oh, great, great. Thank you. I would like to talk to your husband sometime. That's wonderful, Claudia. Thank you for sharing that. You're right. You're right. Then why do we have so much turmoil? I don't know. You know, I don't want to question that one, because boy, it gets me nuts. And nuts meaning, that's why I don't watch the news. If you want to have a good consciousness, refrain from getting addicted to the news. Let's see. Okay, Isaac. Okay, refrain from getting addicted to the news, because the news will make you nuts. When COVID first started, some of you know Sally, who takes care of my office management. Sally would call me up crying. "Did you see how many people have COVID? Did you see? Stop watching the news, Sally, stop." And finally I got her to stop. Yes, we have lots of gifts from them. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Greg, did our government debrief you after you returned? Yes, Greg, yes, twice. Not twice, but I mean, each time I returned. One time, Greg, we spent a total of 15 hours with debriefing. This is a good story. Great questions, great stories. You know, I'm a fun person. I'm not a very serious person at times, maybe with this, but not everything. So I know they're going to meet me. They're going to meet me at 9 a.m. The FBI and the CIA. In fact, no, I don't have it handy, but I have cards from both of them. They're both young guys, maybe in their early 30s, late 20s. And they're cool, you know, cool like you watch the FBI movie on TV or stories on TV. So they're sitting in, of course, a black SUV, looking very police-like. And I'm walking with the other dog ahead, then Margie. So I'm walking on. They don't know what I look like. They're sitting in front of my office. We're going to meet at my office. And they're sitting in front of my office. Picture that. Those of you that have been to my office, right there by the parking meters. And they're sitting there, and you can see they're talking to each other, doing something. And I'm walking along with Margie. And I come close to the door, and I knock on their window. Boom, 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 boom. And they jump. I say, "You looking for me?" That's called hypnosis. That's called, and it was very good. It gave me control. Like when I told Uday, everybody must leave this room. This is not a theatrical production. I'm not a control freak, but I know the human mind. We need to put it off balance to gain some kind of communication skill. I don't want to even say the word power, skills. So the question was I debriefed? Yes, we spent many hours, 3 days in a row. The second time we spent many hours, and questions were asked. Where did they live? Show me a map. And I'm sure they were preparing for war. Because then they were supposed to have people from Washington, D.C. come and interrogate me. They called me up and said, we have to cancel that. Things are going on right now. And then, of course, the war was announced. So those are the things that went on. And that was that question. This is, somebody asked earlier about my situation about eating with the people. Yes, here I am with some interesting people. On the far right, the guy doesn't look too happy. He supposedly is a direct descendant of Muhammad. By the way, most of these photos are in my book, but I could give them to you clearer. The next guy next to me is Huzel, who traveled with me from Jordan here. He and I became great friends. What a wonderful, gentle man. When I missed a photo, he'd take it and give me a copy. What a great man. He and I flew back to France together on my last trip. Now remember, September 11th has started, things were different. And I couldn't stay awake, and he was talking and talking. I wish I would have had a recording on, because he told me things that I'll never remember. We often say things I'll never forget, because I kept dozing. Then I'd wake up and he'd be telling me something great. Then the two guys, I'm trying to remember, I don't think maybe they're called sheiks. They were in charge of this. And here on the left, with this interesting posture, that is Samani. Samani was Uday's mentor. At first, Samani didn't like me. He didn't believe in hypnosis. That's okay. Jokingly, I said, because probably hypnotists don't believe in you. What's the difference? And he didn't like my humor, but it was good for me. And so that's the crew there. And then we're going to do something. Larry, can you mention the time you were at the airport and you were followed? I believe they took your bag. Sophia, you are good. Sophia brings up, see, we have 1,000 stories. So the first trip I'm there, I continually took notes in my notebook. I had my notebook, and boy, I'm going to expression, you couldn't fart without me writing something down. I was writing everything down. And they knew I had this book, and they never took it away from me. They never asked me to see what's in it. When I would sit with Uday for 3 or 4 hours talking stuff, I'd take notes. So now I'm on the plane, and this is the first trip. I'm at the airport in France. And the airport in France, of course, was a lot different. We drove again back to Amman, Jordan. I take a plane from Amman, Jordan to Paris. Now I'm waiting for my plane to go to the United States. I get on the plane and I'm sitting there and I go on my case and I'm looking through my case and I say, let me talk about panic. Where's my notebook? I had taken 10 days of notes. Where's my notebook at? I said to the person on the plane, I can't remember what they're called now, stewardess used to be called. Wait, I've got to get off the plane. We're getting ready to leave. I've got to get off this plane. We're in a big plane. I run off the plane with my case. I didn't care. I needed my notebook. I went back to the bench I was sitting on. It's not there. I looked through the garbage can. It's not there. I lost my notebook. So Sophia brings it up because I was told later that most likely I was followed by the French government. They knew everything I was doing. And I would, I'm a spacer. If you know Larry Garrett, he spaces. Like I'm sitting there. Did you say something? I pay attention when we're talking, but I'm always spacing too. So what happened was I probably was spacing, laid my book down next to me, got up from the bench, forgot the book as I got on the plane, and of course it was long gone. I even called France airport long distance many times. Did you find my notebook? Did you find my No, of course not. That's the story of the lost notebook. Thanks, Sophia, for reminding me. There are so many things I can't remember. Here is the direct descendant of Muhammad signing a book for me, telling the story of the Sufis. The Sufis is what we're going to go on to next. Let's see. Hey, Larry, I wish I didn't have to leave. That's okay. We're going to record this. We're recording this, so we'll have this back. Maybe somebody will help me put it on YouTube or something. So he's signing my book. I've got this book. It's all about the Sufis. Now, if you have not read my book about the Sufis, allow me to share some photos from you that you might doubt. Well, here we are. We're having Uday send 2 lambs as a gift to honor my attendance for the Sufi ritual. By the way, the Sufis are impoverished people, impoverished. This man standing here, I'm sure, is saying, whoa, look at this feast. The Sufis also were not friendly with Uday and his regime. However, look at this feast that we brought. So I even asked, what do we do with all the food that's left over? There's a lot of food there. This photo shows a little of it, hey, Jack. And they said they would feed the people. I was happy to hear that. We had two lambs, and a lamb's a big animal, right? Big animal. And the Sufis were a group. Uday Hussein said to me one night, he was always trying to impress me. Imagine, if you will, a person who is uneducated of the mind in hypnosis, a terrorist, people hate him, everything else you might think of with him. But he's impressed because I have been able to get him to walk. By the way, you might ask that question. His third day, I told you how he'd go up the stairs, one step, lift that foot, one step, lift that foot. The third day he was walking stairs. The third day he was walking without crutches, and without a hand holding thing. He told me one day when we were having our talks one night, he says, Larry, my goal is that I don't need this cane because I live in a macho country and I cannot lead my people with a cane or crutches. So it was important to him to walk. Oh my, I'm so hungry now. Yes, thanks, Deborah. So going back to that, you could see that this was a big deal for him that I was there. Big deal. Anything I wanted. So one night, Uday is saying to me, Larry, would you like to see these words with his accent? Would you like to see the works of God with the mind at the same time? Yeah, sounds good to me. I think I'd like to see that. So the Sufis was just that. So we're going to go to the Sufis now. So here I'm being told the story. By the way, see the man with the plaid shirt? He was our chauffeur. I can't recall his name now, but it's in my book. Wonderful man, wonderful man. He was always there for me. The sheik that you see, I think that's what they're called. He's there. The other guy is telling me the story of what they're going to do, how they're going to penetrate their body without pain, how they will penetrate their body without an incision showing. And as you doubt, we go here and we start here first. This is in the courtyard of 4 buildings around each other. I'll show you a picture of the outside in a little while. And there are about 1,000 people here. They are praying with their style of prayer. You can see some of them look like they're praying. Later, they do a chant. They start doing a chant. You know, it's interesting because I had some music here. You may have heard when we started, and it was Iraqi music. And they do the chant. So they do the chant, and before you know it, most of these men, or many of these men, had long hair, and they started to chant, and their head would go in circles, and you would hear them chanting and making these sounds and this hypnotic rhythm, and it would go faster and faster and stronger, and boom, and it would stop. Whoa, talk about being hypnotic. There was hypnotic. My dog next door heard me. That's Lucy. Here we are here. This is what I was going through the chanting. Can you see in the back there, bending over? They're waiting to be healed, these people. The little boy, the person in the wheelchair. They're all waiting to be healed. And here we go. By the way, you see that date there? That was 10/01. So we're the 10th. So the drumming and chanting follows the prayers. Imagine what I just shared with you, how the drumming got louder and stronger and more powerful. And then all of a sudden stopped and there was silence. Here we are. This is an interesting crew. Of course, you see me looking there. There's Perry. This is Alish. Alish was the Frenchman that rode with us. There's Samani. Now, if you look here, there are some people to the far left of Samani who were from France. And they wanted to see who is this American that's visiting. Okay, here we go. The first guy comes up to us, and you could watch close and go real close to that screen if you can, and look in his mouth as I tell you the story. He comes up to us and he hands each of us a double-edged razor blade wrapped in paper. He wants us to open the paper. We open the paper, there's a double-edged razor blade. There's 5 of us, remember, 5 of us. He takes these razor blades one at a time and puts them in his mouth and proceeds to chew it. As you see the mouth here, proceeds to chew it. 5 blades, picture this. Imagine, use your imagination. Stay with me, be with me, everyone. Chewing these razor blades. The other person's holding his mouth open to show us what's there. I'm 2 feet away from this person. I see razor blades in his mouth chewed up. He looks at us, he smiles, and he goes and swallows the razor blades. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Opens his mouth afterwards, no razor blades. Why were some dressed in white and light blue? Don't know other than ritual. Thank you for sharing how beautiful humanity is and how powerful we all are. I have another meeting now, and Sandy, go for it. Thank you, Sandy. I love you, Sandy. And we're all going to go to your blueprints for the soul in 2 weeks. I'm going to send everybody an email that's on here. 1 week. Okay, 1 week. The best class you could take for knowing the subconscious mind. And maybe you'll learn how to chew razor blades if you take Sandy's class. Okay, next scene. Ready for this? Watch. Look at this. Oh, I'm going to say it again. Oh, shit, look at this. This guy poked 3 skewers in his eye. He had a mallet and he hit this first one, hit the second one, hit the third one, and there he sat. There he sat. I know. You're going to say, I don't believe it. I believe it. I was there. I saw this. And as he pulled out each skewer, little trickle of blood ran down his face. Ready for more? Look at the skewer going through this guy's mouth, down his throat, out his neck. You know, I had neck cancer. It's gone now. Can you imagine this guy, what he's going through? A wooden skewer hammered below his tongue and out of his neck, not a drop of blood. I know, Lisa, I see you looking at it. Lisa's on my screen now. I see you looking at it, Lisa. Me too, me too. Okay, I haven't seen any shares, but I'm going to show you more. Watch. Oh my God, look at this little boy. He's 11 years old. Is that going through his cheeks or is that magic or fakery? Is that trickery? Remember, I'm right there, right there. They took this skewer, by the way, and an adult person pushed it into his cheek, through his mouth, and out the other cheek. I saw it. I was there. These are photos. I didn't have my video camera. I was there. I saw this. This is in April, by the way. This is in April. Look at that. Look at that. What are you thinking? I have stories, by the way, how they do this. I'll tell you that too. I see a couple of chats. Let me see the chats. Okay. Are these people in trance? Yes. I saw a video of this. Oh, I saw a video of this ritual. And yes, I think there is one on YouTube. I saw the video of this ritual filmed in another country. Oh, okay. It is real and it is unreal at the same time. They do incredible things with their body. Yes, they do. And yes. Okay. I'm looking at my chats here. There were 2 of them. I'm trying to see the other one. Yes, it would have to be, right? Yes. Mitzi, good. Mitzi, thank you. You're bringing up some good things. Look at his eyes. As a hypnotist, look at his eyes. Have you ever hypnotized someone and told them to open their eyes? And they have this glassy look? If you meditate with your eyes open, you'll get that look. This young boy is in a trance. After we go through the photos, I'll tell you what they told me of how they do this. I haven't tried it, no. Ready for the next one. Oh, one more chat here. Let's see. Far away look. Yes, far away look. Far away look. Next one. Ooh, well, we've all seen the fire eater. We've all seen the fire eater, so we say that's magic. You want me to tell you what I thought? It wasn't impressive as much as sticking a skewer through your cheek. That was impressive of this 11-year-old boy. How do they do this? I don't know. Here, this is a good one. The guy took a 4-foot fluorescent tube. Can you picture that? I wish I had one. 4-foot fluorescent tube. He broke off the tip and proceeded to chew the fluorescent tube down to about 2 feet. Yes, yes, yes. This phosphorus that's inside the tube should be poison. Never mind the broken glass that's in his mouth. I stood there and observed in awe that this man is eating a fluorescent tube. Yes, I know. I'm glad you're with me. You can see in their eyes, they're altered. Anita says, yes, in a state of mind. Yes, they are, Anita. Yes, they are. And boy, what an interesting, I'm glad the presentation's working. Without this, it would have been me talking. Okay, how about this guy? Ooh, talk about left breast. Ooh, this guy has a skewer. I watched them push this skewer into his chest. I watched them. So I've heard, I wish I could chat with Dr. Christine Clark, if she's still with us. She's my friend, the psychiatrist, as I told you, from New Mexico. And she might tell us about this. If a physician's around, they want to chat and do us some chats, we can hear about it. Was this part of a church, a religious service? Yes, Mitzi. It was a rite of some sort, a movement of some sort, and it occurs monthly. Every month they do this. Not for the Americans, because Americans aren't there. And look at the skewer. Look at in here and out here. Look at the look on his face. In a trance, but I see no grimacing of pain. Do you? I see shock from these men. By the way, these people, men, Alish, Samani, Terry, said they had never witnessed this before and they live in Baghdad. Thank you, Larry, for coming, because since you've been here, we see everything. That was their words. That was Terry's words. If Terry was on right now, he would attest to that. They are certainly celebrating mind over matter. Who's performing the hypnosis? You're right, Deborah. You're right. Who's performing the hypnosis? Wow, I agree with you. Will you tell us about how you were able to get home on 9/11? 9/19, I didn't get home till 9/19. Remember, our government stopped all flights. I will tell you that, in case you've got to go. On the night, first off, Uday wanted to send me to Amman, Jordan. I could stay in a hotel until I would get a flight. No, I don't want to go to Amman, Jordan. I don't know anybody there. I know everybody here. This is my second time. You spend a day with me and I'll get to know who you are and you'll know me well. So when I got on the plane on September 19th, the plane was guarded with guns. It was probably our first glimpse of TSA. You know TSA? We had no TSA before 9/11. No, none. Now people were getting on this plane. I've got videos of me getting on the plane and I've got videos of me going through customs in Baghdad. Good videos. Maybe this. Maybe those of you that are local, or when you're in Chicago, let's set up a date when we could go with no mask or better attendance. And I'll have a video presentation at our office showing you some of the videos if I don't get them on today. Look how long we've been on anyway. We've got to get ourselves going here. We're going to run out of time. Okay, how about this one? Ooh, You see yours truly? I'm not pushing a knife in his head. I'm trying to pull the knife out of his head. Can you go closer? Maybe blow up your picture and look at my face. It's not moving. The knife is not moving. By the way, this man, you see my words there? He tapped 3 daggers. Those are big daggers. Look at that. He put one on the side of his head here, one on the side of his head here, one in the middle here. And he looked at us. Whoa. Now he goes around the room and he chants, oh, and he comes back and he pulls out a dagger. Look on the left side of his face, a trickle of blood. That's from the dagger he pulled out. Reaches on the other side, pulled out the dagger. Then he kneels down in front of me because he knows I'm the American, points at me, points at his dagger, says, pull. Not me, not me. Points at the dagger, points at me, pull, not me. So the other people said, you have to do it. It's part of the ritual. Okay, I do want to go home. I'll pull it out. First off, it's kind of weird, you know, it's like, you know, say your dog got stepped on a nail and you had to pull a nail out of him. Wow, what a feeling, right? And pull a dagger out of a person's head. So I pull and I pull and I pull and I pull. Nothing happens. It's not working. I am not exaggerating. I pulled and his head would go up, but the knife would not move. Knife was in his head about that far. That's about an inch. What was stopping it? They told me his mind. Look at the look on his face. Look at him. He looks like a motorcycle guy, doesn't he? So after I'm through pulling, he bows his head to me, puts his hands on his chest, bows his head, and he proceeds to go around the room. Remember, there's about 1,000 people. I didn't tell you some of the details of that. Goes around the room, chanting and singing and chanting. He comes back, he stands in front of us and he goes, ah! And he pulls out the dagger and a little trickle of blood goes. Any chaps? Okay, can you share on how you wanted to get a hold of your family just after hearing of 9/11? Wasn't there only one computer? Sophia, you're good. Sophia, you remembering the story better than me. Next time I'm going to have you. No wonder you've done so many voiceovers, so many commercials, so many acting. You know everything. Okay, I know you're smiling right now too. So Sophia wants me to share with you 9/11. Don't you think my family was freaking out for 9/11? Yes. Oh boy. Aha. You're right. Aha. My family was freaking out because they thought I was in danger. The safest place to be on 9/11 was in Baghdad, Iraq. You were the people with challenges. I understand that Paris had 5,000 people at the airport trying to get home. I'm 7,000 miles away. I can't go home. Imagine what they felt. You think I was in trouble? No, I had it made. I was safe. Every place I would go, they would offer me condolences for my family and my country. Right. I know we don't believe these stories. The Iraqi people were such a loving group of people that I've ever met. They would constantly, I'm so sorry, Mr. Larry. I'm so sorry. Even people I didn't know. I'm so sorry for your country's loss. So we might think what we want to think, but maybe most of us agree that we went to Iraq and we started beating them up, and it wasn't even them who started all this stuff. Plus, I'm sitting there with the leader, and here's the leader talking to me about what's going on in the country as though he's observing and with compassion. So Sophia's right. There was only one computer. They had a computer at the school, didn't work for nothing. So Uday let me use his computer. It's about 3 or 4 in the morning. So over here would be 7 hours or 8 hours later. So I send notes to all of my family and friends. In fact, if my friend Joe Roth is here, I remember sending a note to him. My great friend Joe Roth has those emails. I have some of those emails. Lori McDaniels, she's here, I think. She has one. And I sent emails to many of these people. I'm okay, everything is fine. What do you think they thought? They thought that the Iraqis had me trapped, forcing me to tell everybody that I was okay. They didn't believe that I was okay. Uday let me use his computer. I was on that computer then all night long, writing to everybody I could that I'm okay. Some of you know my friend Vicky Bertucci. I remember stopping on the way at Vicky's restaurant, the Dog Stop here in Chicago. And her and her brother Jeff Fessick were at the Dog Stop. And I told them, don't go, please don't go. We'll never see you again. They're gonna kill you when you get there. Well, here I am to tell you they didn't kill me. Let's move on. I've kept your attention for a while. I bet you we went from 60 people down to 6 people. I don't think so, but let's try it. So where are we at? It's 3:11. Let's go. Okay, so let me get rid of this chat and tell you some more slides and get you out of here. We're going to be out of here in a moment, I think. Okay. Whoa, the Amaria bomb shelter. I wish I could see all of you and hold up hands. If you've never heard of the Amaria bomb shelter, please look it up on Google. I have a video prepared here, and if it would come on my screen, I would give up being on Zoom just to show all of you this movie I have. I have a great footage about a half hour long of a tour of the Amaria bomb shelter. Now I'm going to tell you about the Amaria bomb shelter. You see the hole in the ceiling? The hole in the ceiling was made by a bomb sent over from the Americans in February 13th of 1991. Don't I sound like a historian? I know what I'm talking about. That wasn't even a note. I just remember it. I was just looking at my phone there. And look at the rebar. Look at the thickness of the ceiling. The ceiling is 2 meters. A meter is 39 inches. That's over 6 feet thick, that ceiling is. And the bomb came through there. Not only was it a bomb, here's the story of the Amaria bomb shelter. There were 421 women and children in the bomb shelter who went to the bomb shelter to protect themselves from the bombing that was going on from the Kuwait War. You hear that story? The Americans thought it was an artillery. Oh, I don't want that one yet. They thought it was an artillery. Let's see if I go back. Okay, they thought it was an artillery hangout where they kept artillery. So they bombed it. They were told that by people who didn't know, and they claimed that that was the information they were given. However, as you can see, I have videos of showing you. Look at the top of the left-hand corner, the lighter part of the ceiling. I don't have photos of this, I don't think. Maybe I will, I don't know. You see what you're looking at? You're looking at the hands of many children carbonized to the ceiling. Hear that again. You're looking at the hands of many children carbonized to the ceiling. Again, if you'd like to see this in video, maybe some of you computer techies could help me. I've got them on CDs right now. I've got them on video. I don't know how to work it. I had it on this morning. This morning, I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. Those people who know me know I don't get up before 9 because I want to be prepared for you. So at least we got the slides. But the videos of this with the tour guide, it was a woman. And she starts the video with me saying, can we stand here and pray? Okay. We all meditated for a moment. And she proceeded to tell me the story of how this bomb came in and was immediately followed by a second bomb through the ventilation system. These bombs created a heat within this building, 700 degrees centigrade. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit right now. Look it up, tell me. 700 degrees centigrade. I'm going by the facts I was told, I don't know. 421 women and children up to 16 years old were sleeping on shelves. The younger children were at the higher shelf to protect them. But the heat of these bombs shot the heat up and carbonized them to the ceiling. Carbonized meaning their limbs, their body, their limbs and their body were charcoaled. These hands you see, I've got them on video. I try and transfer them on photos. I might have some. The photos didn't come out well that day, but the videos did. I have good videos, clear, concise, great audio. I don't mean to tempt all of you, but somehow we're going to do that one. So visualize that, these carbonized hands along the walls of this Amaria bomb shelter. You might look again on Google, images of the body like a negative of film plastered against the walls. There were many. I have many, many of these. You know, you're talking to Larry Garrett. I'm a very sensitive, emotional person. Do you know I'm 79 years old and I have never been in a fight. I've never had anybody fight me. I've never been in a fight as a young boy. I was raised by a single mom about love. Now you can imagine how my emotions were in this bomb shelter, looking at the devastation that war creates on civilians. Oh, wow. So I'm losing it for a minute, but I'll get back with you. Okay, I come out of the bomb shelter and what's waiting for me? By the way, I have this one on video also. All these little boys going to school. American, American, they're saying, American, look at them. American, American, and I'm standing there in the midst of them. What a great joy to come out of this bomb shelter and view this. This is what I was greeted with. Did the universe plan that for me? Because I have to tell you, I was in tears in the bomb shelter. Tears. I came out and I was in joy. I was in joy. I was in joy. Okay, we could go back. We don't see that yet. Let's talk about these boys for a moment. There were many more, by the way. Kamal took this photo, excuse me, and I was so honored he took this photo. Can you imagine the story I was telling you about the bomb shelter and coming out with this? So again, I'm going to look for the techie because I have here sitting next to me videos of this that would take you there in person without slides. And I don't wish to apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. I just don't know how to work it. Excuse me. Okay, here is a good one. The first visa issued in 10 years to enter an American into Iraq in May of 2001. Second visa issued September 10th. September 10th, 2001. Is that a classic or what? I'm going to show you those later closer. Those are treasures to me. Those are treasures. Deborah, you have a note there. Let me see what, I'm going to see a note here, chat. Okay, Erica. Hi, Erica. Am I the only one crying? No, me too, Erica. Me too. Me too. I cry at movies, Erica. I love stories. I can help you with the videos. Greg, I would love that. Let me know you're interested after this Zoom. Greg, yes, thank you. You hear that? Maybe we might have a day Greg can help me and get those videos on. And instead of me talking for 2 hours, do you think Larry could talk for 2 hours? Yeah. We will have Greg help us. Greg, that would be such a gift. Wouldn't that be a gift? That would be a gift, yes. And thank you, Erica. No, you're not the only one crying, Erica. Me too. Me too. Okay, let's go further. Okay, here we go again. So anyway, I'm proud of that. You know, there's a great phrase that says, it's not arrogance when it's true. I wonder who else has a visa going to Iraq on September 10th. I can't think of many people. So if you ever doubted my story, you know it's not a doubt. Here, whoa, look at this. From Amman, Jordan to Baghdad. Look at that. Look at that. No fly zone over Iraq from 1991 until this flight in September. Whoa, is that a powerful souvenir? That's a great souvenir. 1991, what I told you earlier. Man, I didn't even need to talk. I could have showed you the slides and done the whole presentation. Oh boy, I was afraid they wouldn't work. Look at my belt. I trust everything. 10 years later, 250 dinars equals 7 cents. Can you believe Some of you have that. I know Ken has one of those, a few others. I used to have a whole stack of them I came back with, and I've been giving them out. And so some of you have them. If you have them, I'm sure they're a collector's item. Greg's the best, as you are, Larry. Thank you, Deborah. That's why you married him. That's why you married him. If you wouldn't have married him, ooh. Thank you, Deborah. You're right. You're right. You know, it's funny. I was telling Anita, is that it? Is that it? Nope, that's it. Okay. So let's get rid of that and let's call it stop sharing. Ooh, look at this. We still have 44 people on. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that we still have some of you on there. You mean I've been talking all that time and you guys stayed with me? It's 3:20. Okay. So I am here. I am here with you, and as I say, I do have it here, and I wish I could get this thing going. I could plug it in, and I got a CD here, and if it came, or DVD here, and if it came on, wouldn't we all be happy? So let me switch cameras. That's a good one to do. Let's switch cameras and show you some of my toys. I want to show you my toys that I brought back from Baghdad. You want to know? I'll bet nobody's going to guess what my greatest souvenir is. My greatest souvenir. Okay, first off, we showed you this. There's my airline ticket. There's my visa, money, books. Don't forget the books. Call me. You know what? That's another one I need help with. If somebody can help me with that, I give you a piece of everything I get. I'm a seller on Amazon, but I don't know how to put my books on Amazon. Help me with that, please. Okay, enough of that. Want to see my souvenirs? I showed you my radio. This is my gift. If you read my book, my gift from Uday Hussein. Uday Hussein says, Mr. Larry, everything here is in Arabic. Here's a radio with a shortwave. And Anita brought it up, how antiquated they were. You see the inscription here? I think the reflection is probably blocking it. The inscription is all written in Arabic. By the way, you see that thing over there? That's their symbol for their war museum. So that was one of my souvenirs. Want to see my other souvenir? Ooh, you ready? You ready, class? Ready? Pop cans. Pop cans. There was nothing I could buy in Iraq that wasn't made in China. But I could bring back a pop can. Look at that club soda. Ready for this? Look at club soda written in Arabic. How about Diet Coke, light Coke? How about a Pepsi written in Arabic? Canada Dry, look at that, what it says on the bottom, soda. How about, isn't that a beautiful orange crush can? 7-Up, Coca-Cola. Look at, all written in Arabic. You see my famous souvenirs? My famous souvenirs. My pop cans from Iraq. Oh, I'm trying to get my camera back here. Okay, that one's too far away anyway. The only one that's good for, oh, I dropped my camera. Let me get back on here. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Okay. Believe it or not, I had to set up like a production studio. Last night, as I say, Anita was here helping me try to get this set up so I could show you a beautiful presentation. So we had the camera set up so I could switch cameras, show you what I just showed you, show you me, and I have a third camera. Greg, I see you sit like me. Yep, you're thinking. When I sit like that, I'm thinking, what am I going to do next? If you've ever sat in my office and you see me do that, I'm getting into your mind. I hope you're getting into my story. I have been so honored to tell this story. Now, before I go, and we still haven't been able to, Natalie Colts, another movie star, a friend of mine. Natalie, nice to see you, even if it's just a photo. I'm going to go back to these chats. I got 4 chats. Let's see what these chats say. Okay. 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 My favorite is a genie lamp. I got a genie lamp. You want me to show it? I brought a genie lamp from, oh there. No wonder Anita knows. Yeah, she's seen it. And Gloria, thank you, Gloria. Thank you. Gloria says she can listen to me all day. Yes, I have a genie lamp. Okay. An Arabic woman told me once they invented the word yummy. It means the same as we use it all the time. Interesting. I didn't know that. Sophia, Yes, I've seen you sit that way. Yes, that's my way. When I'm there, you know, hi Larry, I'm so enjoying your stories. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. I'm so enjoying seeing you too. And it's been a while, and I keep in touch with you, Natalie. I see all of your events on Facebook. You know, some people don't like Facebook, but I find great joy. Mike, my handyman yesterday, told me Facebook's full of all kinds of garbage. It's also full of a lot of love. Most of you here know that love. So yeah, it's full of, it depends who you hang around with. My mother used to tell me, be careful who you hang around with. You'll get just like them. Gail, I saw you get on, but I can't hear anybody. So send me a chat down at the bottom, Gail. There's a thing that says chat. Hit that chat and write me a note. Leave them hungry for more. Thank you for this great gift. Anita Barton, you know, you are a punk, Anita. Anita's a punk. By the way, she's got some great surprises coming up for you soon. I'm not going to tell you because she just shared them with me recently. And thank you, Larry. Love you, Robert and Joanne. Thank you. And I'm going to open for one more chat, then I'm going to leave you hungry for more. I could go on, you know, obviously, you know, I could go on with this, right? Mitzi, thank you for your feedback. You could shake if you're hearing me. You're so generous because those meant great things to me. Thank you, Christine. My God, Christine, it's so good to see you. I don't know who's next to you, but thank you for bringing her. And Paula, same way. Let me say goodbye to some of you. And Paula, always great. Paula and I have known, I'm going to tell you how long Paula and I have known each other. Before I was in hypnosis, I used to reweave carpets. You knew that, huh, Paula? And Paula's husband, Bill, was then a white waste sign person. Some of you might remember Magicus rug cleaners with the big lips on the side. That was Bill, Paula's husband, who did those. Now, I've been doing hypnosis since 1968. The story I share with you is before then, I was taking classes. I used to reweave rugs, like an Oriental rug with a burn in it. I'd weave it. Then my boss called me in one day and he said to me, Larry, he says, I was out at lunchtime listening to the radio. And guess what I heard on the radio? I knew what he heard because at lunchtime I was on the radio. He says, I heard this hypnotist. And he stopped for a moment and he said, you know what? Let me give you some advice, Larry. Make a choice. Either sit here and work on these carpets or go to work and do hypnosis. Ooh, he kicked me in the butt, didn't he? So I was scared then. I was scared. I didn't make a lot of money. I made a lot of money doing rugs, but not hypnosis. And my mother said, if you love hypnosis so much, quit your job and go do hypnosis. And that's how long I've known Paula Coughlin and Bill. That's got to go back 52 or 3 years. And she was about 10 years old then. And I knew she'd get a smile out of that. So, wow, my God. Okay, I'm going to leave you hungry for more. I was going to say goodbye to everybody and I can't because there's too many of you. But here's a couple more chats. My mother was a hypnotherapist. Yes. And okay. Okay. Thank you for telling us the stories. I'm a friend of Sophia's from California. Well, you got a great friend there. So Larry, thank you. I'm going to read these to you and then I'm going to go. Thank you. Love your stories. Thank you. Love you, Robert and Joanne. Context creates reality. Leave them hungry for more. I read. Now watch these others and then you're going to hear me say goodbye. Larry, how does one stay in touch with you? Such an honor to hear your story on this day. Thank you. Erica, I'm honored on September 11th, 20 years later. Don't you wonder why I'm not on every radio and TV station telling this story? Don't you wonder why I'm not on NPR? Did you ever hear such a story in your life? No. So if you have connections, tell them. Lisa, great friend of mine for 30 years or more. Larry, this was fabulous. Oh, 40 years. No, kept 40 people for hours. Yes. Thanks for your depth and of emotion. I'm a very emotional person. Thank you, Larry. It's an unbelievable story. Hello, Larry. It's Mike. Mike Rentos. Okay. Mike, thank you, Mike. Larry, is there any way to get access to the entire video of today? Yes, I put it on record. See, it says at the top recording. Hopefully it's recording on my computer. When I learn from Greg or somebody how to retrieve it, send me an email and I will send you the recording. Gail McKenzie's my sister. I'm so blessed to be a part of such a beautiful story. How fortunate to be so trusting. Gail and I have reconnected in the past couple of years, especially since I went through a cancer healing. And we have been talking about love continually. And Gail, and you know, Gail said to me, the Buddha says you could live life on love. She didn't believe it. I said, oh yes. If you wear love, you will never starve. If you wear love, you will never be in poverty. If you wear love, you will live to be 100 plus. I plan on living to be 100 plus. I went through 4th stage of cancer and I am cancer free now. They told me constantly at the doctor, at your age, it will take you a year or 2 to heal. Oh no, I had Anita Barton help me, Evelyn Veras, Mike Davis, 24/7. I had people who loved me, taking care of me. If you are with love, you will live forever. Larry, isn't your mom a hypnotherapist? Yes. My mom taught me, first off, a good story, and I'm going. I was married at the time. My mother said to me, my wife said to my mother, guess what your son's wasting his money on now? And she says, what? She says, hypnosis classes. And my mother says, Larry, why are you wasting your stuff on stuff like that? Because I didn't have much money. Kids, house, everything. A month later, my mother joined Fred Shalvo's classes because a month later, I was free of anxiety issues. I was free of ulcers. I was free of headaches. I quit smoking. I quit biting my nails. And I used to shake and I quit shaking. Now Gail's on there. She remembers what I used to be. And I've got a couple more here. Did you make him stop limping? Yes, he stopped limping. Thanks, Larry. I used to live in Logan Square and was in your house there on 9/11. Ooh, you were. Margaret, thank you. Oh, Margaret D must be. Margaret, we haven't seen each other in a while. Good to hear you. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Call me Larry. If you call me Mr. Garrett, I'll think I'm an old man. Your trust and love is a real gift. Thank you, Gail. Renee, your great stories. Thank you. Deborah and Greg, I love you and I love you. Bobby Fields, thank you for being here. I'm so honored to be in this audience, and me too. Gail, I am so grateful to be a part of this. I wish to say goodbye to all of you. I love all of you very much. You send me an email, larrygarrett.gwc@gmail.com or larrygarrett.com. Bye, everybody.